So, this is song Saparshada Bhagavad Viraha Janati Vilapa, or lamentation due to separation from the Lord and His devotees. Yes. I don't know, Tapas, do you think you could, I don't know, is the volume high enough, or I don't know, maybe it's just, it's good? Okay. All right. Ye anila premadana karuna pracho Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patitha Pavan Kahamora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranata Pashane Kotiba Mata Annale Pashiba Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kotagele Abo Se Saba Sangira Sange Ye Kolo Vilas Se Sangana Paya Konde Narottamata Ye anila prema dana karuna pracho Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where are my Srup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatt and Gopal Bhatt, and where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Okay. Okay.
So you may have heard already, but for the internet crowd and for others, His Holiness Bhakti Charan Maharaj has passed away. You can read more, there's a GBC statement, but that we're observing it on Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day is a link that is significant. Bhakti Charan Maharaj, I take it, and other GBC men are saying the same thing, that that Prabhupada must have needed Bhakti Charan Maharaj. There are many, if you could just sit, that would be good. There are many examples of how carefully, how lovingly, with such dedication, both personally in interacting with Srila Prabhupada, and also in his dedication of his life, Bhakti Charan Maharaj was very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And I just take it that Prabhupada needs him somewhere, and Krishna just arranged for Bhakti Charan Maharaj to go and once again take up that service. Sit. Just sit. Just sit. Because it's a very serious thing. And please read the statements. I sent it out to all of you. And please, I'll say more tomorrow, but his life was exemplary. He was a sweet, I was just saying but to Ramapati Prabhu, you could, although he had so many big projects and so many big preaching programs and so many disciples and was engaged in so many ISKCON projects, anybody could approach him. My son-in-law, when we all went to India, he couldn't figure out what's going on. Bhakti Charan Maharaj immediately picked him up, brought him to lunch, made friends with him, made him feel comfortable. That's just the kind of person that Bhakti Charan Maharaj was. It didn't matter who you were, what your position was. He was a good friend. One of his favorite things, I was mentioning the other day, was just cooking prasad for the devotees. And then, he didn't just cook it. What did he really like to do, Ram? He loved to serve. He'd make sure, he'd line you all up, everybody getting enough. He'd see what you were eating, what your favorite was, get you more. So many things. So, we can serve him best. Obviously there's lamentation. But lamentation in and of itself, it becomes crippling. What is the use? But if the best remembrance is to remember the best service, the best form of lamentation, of proper respect, is to take up his mood, to take up his spirit, to take up the kind way. He was an exemplary Vaishnav sadhu. Just like Sanatana Goswami, we'll talk tomorrow, Prabhupada said was the unofficial mayor of Vrindavan. Prabhupada said that even he would resolve marital problems. They'd come, husband and wife fighting, he would sort it out. He would be walking, Prabhupada was describing, he'd be walking, on his, going from one Leela place to another. And he would check with the farmers, how are your crops? What are you growing? He was a dear friend to everyone. And in that same mood, so was Bhakti Charamar. So we have lost an exemplary Vaishnava. And we can serve him best by trying to imbibe those qualities ourselves. Hare Krishna.
Can somebody pass the Bhagavatam, please? So, today is also the disappearance of Srila Sanatana Goswami, and tomorrow, you could say, we could read a little bit about him now, but tomorrow will be the main presentation of Srila Sanatana Goswami by Bajranayan Swami. So, we can just read a little bit here now. Like Tirthamar said, anyways. You'll mention that later. Srila Sanatana Goswami appeared in 1488, 5 years before Rupa Goswami, in Saraswat Brahmin family in Bengal. Sanatana and his two brothers Rupa and Anupam were always absorbed in Bhava Bhakti from early childhood. Remembering Vrindavan, they named the forests in which they played after Vraja's 12 forests, Talavan, Madhuvan, Kamyavan, Mahavan. They called their favorite bathing ponds Radhakund and Shamakund. In his youth, Srila Sanatana dreamt that a beautiful Brahmin boy gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. Feeling ecstatic, he awoke. But seeing neither the boy nor the Bhagavatam, he felt sad. But when Sanatana began his puja that morning, however, Krishna himself, disguised as a beautiful Brahmin boy, came and said, "Take this Srimad Bhagavatam from me, always study it, and you will attain perfection." In Krishna Lila Stava, Srila Sanatana Goswami glorifies the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is what he says. "O holy Bhagavat, you are my only company, my only friend, and my guru. You are my greatest treasure and my personal savior. You are the emblem of the highest fortune in the very form of ecstasy. I offer my obeisances unto you." Forced to submit to the ruling Muslim government, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana became ministers and lived at Ramakeli. But their real engagement was teaching Shastras, which they learned from Vidya Vichaspati, brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Pundits and Brahmins from all over India came to study under the two brothers. Srila Rupa and Sanatana were acclaimed as the crest jewels of the Gaudiya Vaishnava scholars. After the Lord visited Ramakeli and freed them, they renounced everything for Lord Gauranga's service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sri Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis to move to Vrindavan and perform 4 services. 1. Uncover Sri Krishna's pastime places. 2. Install deities arranged for their puja. 3. Compile bhakti scriptures. And 4. Propagate the rules of devotional life. Entering Lord Chaitanya's service, they resolutely gave up power, riches, and position to live in Vrindavan as humble beggars absorbed in bhajan. One cannot properly perform Krishna bhajan until one renounces all attachments, both internally and externally, and adopts a life of simplicity and humility. They traveled extensively through Vrindavan, discovering many Leela stans, places of Radha Madhava. Having no fixed residence, they would catch a few winks of sleep, no more than 1.5 hours per day. under a tree or bush. Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami spent all their time writing, discussing Krishna's pastimes, and chanting Krishna's holy names. To maintain himself, Sanatana would bake some wheat flour, roll it into a ball by adding a touch of Yamuna water, and drop it in smoldering coals to cook. So in so many ways we can't imitate the Goswamis. In one of the ways, there was a devotee here, he used to try to do this. He'd get a, roll of dough and somehow bake it, and then he would offer it to the deities here. I think they stopped him, tried to stop him. He was a little stubborn, but he's saying, oh, this is, Sanatana Goswami would do this, so can't imitate in so many ways. He would offer this salt-free baked bread ball to his deity of Madan Mohan. Giving up all kinds of material enjoyment, the Goswamis accepted the poorest way of life as mendicants. They ate just enough to maintain their bodies. The Ratamaran Mohan Mandir, established by Sanatana Goswami, was the first one opened in Vrindavan by the 6 Goswamis. Described as the personal extension of the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Sanatana is the ideal spiritual master, because he gives one shelter at the lotus feet of Madan Mohan. The 3 Vrindavan deities, Madan Mohan, Govindaji, and Gopinath, are the life and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The deity of Madan Mohan has the specific quality of helping the neophyte devotees understand their eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Madan Mohan means Krishna, who is so undescribably beautiful that he even attracts Cupid, Kamadev. Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Acharya who gives us knowledge of our proper relationship with Krishna, and his deity Madan Mohan helps us overcome our attraction for material sense gratification, Cupid, and fix our minds in devotional service. Srila Sanatana Goswami spent 43 years wandering from village to village in Vrindavan. The Vrajvasis would affectionately care for him, treating him like their father. With patience and concern, he listened to their problems. Then he would please all the villagers by his preaching and practical advice on everything from increasing crop yields to solving family quarrels. Renouncing all worldly pleasures, so this next quote is from the Bhakti Ratnakara. Renouncing all worldly pleasures, Sanatana Goswami was humble, detached, always absorbed in study. Mahaprabhu often said that Sanatana Goswami was his favorite devotee. As an ocean of love and mercy, Sanatana excelled all other devotees in his compassion toward the suffering souls. In his last years, he left his beloved deity of Madan Mohan with Krishnadas Brahmachari, his disciple. He did bhajan on the banks of Manasi Ganga next to Chakaleshwara Mahadev at Govardhan. Daily he walked the 24-mile parikrama of Govardhan Hill. It's a lot of walking every day. Although he was 65 years old, he kept his daily vow of offering 1,008 obeisances to Govardhan Hill and to any Vaishnava whom he met. Understanding the difficulty of his pure devotee, Sri Madan Mohan appeared one day and said, "Baba, you are too old. Don't take so much trouble to walk around Govardhan Hill every day." Sanatana replied, "This is one of the daily activities of my bhajan. I must maintain it." "Since you are old," said Madan Mohan, "you may now give up this vow." Starting to walk again, Sanatana replied, "I will never give up my religious principles." Sanatana Goswami's firm determination to complete his daily devotional vow pleased Sri Madan Mohan, Krishna, period. But in the loving dealings between the Lord and his pure devotee, Krishna's desire to please his devotee often defeats the devotee's desire to please him. So out of loving compassion for his devotee, Sri Krishna stood on a large flat stone, Govardhan Shila, taken from Giriraj. He played his irresistible flute. The Govardhan Shila melted in ecstasy, capturing the impression of Krishna's lotus feet. Presenting this to Sanatana, Krishna said, "If you circumambulate the Shila every day, it will be the same as going around Govardhan Hill every day. You will keep your vow intact and not compromise your religious principles." Seeing that Giriraj himself, Sri Krishna, had given the Shila, Sanatana Goswami gratefully accepted. One can still see the Govardhan Shila in the Radha Damodar temple. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said in Jivadharma, Sanatana Goswami was empowered to explain the esoteric aspects of Krishna's manifest and unmanifest Vraj Leelas. Sanatana Goswami made a significant literary contribution to the Gaudiya Sampradaya with his Hari Bhakti Vilas, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and Brihad Vaishnav Toshani. In the form of Ubanga Manjari, Sanatana Goswami served Srimati Vishaka Sakhi in Radhamadhava's pastimes. All right, so we'll see how much everybody remembers tomorrow. There'll be a test. Okay. So, we'll read the Bhagavatam now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, so this morning we were reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, or text 69. Idam Japata Badrambo Yashudha Nripanandana Sadharmam Anutishtanto Bhagavat Yarpita Dushaha Idam Jabata Badrambo Yashudha Nripanandana Sadharmam Anutishtanto Bhagavat Yarpita Shayaha Idam Chapita Badrambo Yashudha Nripanandana Sadharmam Anutishtanto Bhagavat Yarpita Shayaha. Idam, this. Chapata, while chanting. Badram, all auspicious. Vaha, all of you. Vishuddha, purified. Nripanandana, the sons of the king. Sadharmam, one's occupational duties. Anutishtanta, executing. Bhagavati, under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arpita, given up, ashayaha, possessing all kinds of faithfulness. Translation. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. Purport. The prayers offered by Lord Shiva are very authoritative and significant. Simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, one can become perfect, even though engaged in his occupational duty. The real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord. It does not matter where one is situated, whether one is a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, American, Englishman, Indian, etc. One can execute devotional service anywhere and everywhere in the material existence, simply by offering prayers unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is also a prayer. For a prayer addresses the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his name and invokes good fortune by petitioning the Lord to allow one to engage in his devotional service. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra also says, My dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Ram, O energy of the Lord, Hare, kindly engage me in your service. Although one may be situated in a lowly position, he can execute devotional service under any circumstance as stated. Ohaitiki apratiyata. Devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. That's from the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 6. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process. Gane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukaritam bhavadi yavartam stane stata shuddhikatam tanuvan manobir ye prayasho jati jitop yasi taistri lokam. So 10.14.3 Bhagavatam. One may remain situated in his own place or in his own occupational duty and still lend his ear to receive the message of the Lord from realized souls. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle, and we are opening centers all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. Om Ganati Padandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidvachalam Pangamanga Tegirim Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurunditaradam Vancha Kapadribishta Kripasindavevcha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll read the translation again. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. So the real, as Prabhupada says here in the purport, the real purpose of life is to become a devotee of Krishna. And you'd say specifically a pure devotee of Krishna. But in order to become a pure devotee of Krishna, there's a process, just like as Lord Shiva, he's giving this process to these, what are they? Prachetas. Yeah, prachetas. Giving a process to these they're young men. Yeah, at least as far as I understand. And the process that they have been given by Lord Shiva is to chant this prayer underwater for a very long time, like 1,000 years, something like that. 10,000 years underwater. Somehow they could do that. And our particular process obviously is not to do that. I mean, I don't think anyone could do that here. Maybe you could try to, after class, go to the nearby ocean, go underwater and chant some prayers. I don't know how long we would last. Oh, they're just there? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Mukund is saying that the brahmacharis, all of them are left, they're just doing penances underwater. I don't know about that. So if we try, it'd be very, troublesome, because it's just not going to work, get in trouble, right? Leave our bodies or something. So our process is obviously different, and it is centered on what Srila Prabhupada set up, or what he designed. Design means, you could say, crafted it according to, of course, according to the instructions and guidance of the previous acharyas, but Prabhupada did, you could say, craft in a very particular way for ISKCON, which is all perfect. It's not that there's something lacking, or there's nothing lacking, provided one does follows the program. So yeah, the purpose is to become a pure devotee of Krishna, and here a particular shloka is given in the Lord Brahma's prayers of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Gane Priyasam Udapasya Namanti Eva, that whoever you are, whatever particular position, you could stay in that position. You don't have to do anything radical. But just hear about Krishna. And that hearing about Krishna, that will, you could say, qualify one to conquer the unconquerable. And who's the unconquerable? Krishna. So ordinarily, Krishna is unconquerable. And although someone may try to conquer Krishna, or in other words, understand Krishna, or get close to Krishna, or comprehend Krishna, one cannot do that. One cannot do that with their mental faculties, or their, strength, or anything material. One cannot do that. Krishna can't be conquered so easily like that. But if one hears about Krishna, one becomes qualified to conquer Krishna out of, you could say, affection. Thank you. Vijay Prabhu. Setting up the clock. To the right time? Oh, okay. Well, pretty close. So yeah, this is what's being recommended, that we hear about Krishna. And then once we hear about Krishna, we could hear about Krishna some more. We keep on hearing about Krishna over and over and over and over and over again, every day, as a daily practice. And this will gradually, you could say, awaken us from our slumber. And if we don't hear about Krishna, then we remain in this kind of you could say, Mayic slumber, which it's kind of like morose and unenthused, especially in relation to could say one's very when we say one's morose and unenthused, that means that one's enthused about something else. It's not that you can't just, many people are enthused about, everybody's enthused about something. Even the most, mode of ignorance person's enthused about something, about sleeping, they're very enthused about it, Very interesting. I don't know how. It's really terrible, actually, I'm enthused about sleeping. It's that's like punishment for children. I don't know if everybody knows that here, but, probably those who have children. I guess different children are different, but you have little young children, and you want to my mother's taking care of my nephews, helping my sisters, and this and that. So her, method is, if they're kind of acting up, which, kids do all the time, right? She'll tell them, all right, guys, if you don't behave yourselves, you're going to have to go to bed. it's like in the in the middle of the day. You're going to have to go to bed. You're going to have to go and lay down and go to sleep. And they're like, oh, no, well, please don't. We don't want to do that, because they want to play and have fun and right, want to be awake. So, but yeah, people in the motive, they want to enter into that sleep, that slumber, and they're very enthusiastic about it. Like, also one devotee was telling me they're working at a restaurant, and they're having one of these days where they like, you want to kind of get to know the other employees, So one of the questions was that let everybody know what you're passionate about, what you're into. So one person, they say, oh, I'm into Facebook, right? I spend 23 hours a day on it. No, I'm just joking. I don't know if they really do this. Probably somebody does somewhere, but they did. But they write, oh, I'm into Facebook, right? And okay, you're passionate about Facebook. And the guy says, oh, I'm passionate about soccer, right? And this other person, the one devotee was telling me that, she was, from material estimation, young, attractive, some intelligence, whatever. But interesting enough is she said, she wrote down and, let everybody know, I'm very passionate about sleeping, I just am really into it. It's kind of strange, And then this devotee was telling me, that's really strange. Passionate about sleeping. You kind of get to know. What do you like to do? I like to sleep. Just like get in my bed and soft and pillow and turn on the air conditioner and really.
Background music.
Yeah, background. Yeah, with the they play those.
Waves.
Those track, yeah, the ocean, waves. I have to be careful. I don't want to get attracted. Yeah, I don't want to get attracted. No, I don't. At least the wave part sounds nice, I guess. But anyways, but yeah, they're like very enthused about things, things of this kind of this world, but. And then when you ask such people, oh, hey, why don't you chant Hare Krishna? They're, oh, well, or why don't you engage in devotional service? Or why don't you do something? Like Prabhupada mentions that in Bhagavad Gita purport. He says, we tell people, they're willing to go so many places and do so many things, right? But then when we say, oh, come and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, oh, no, that's a waste of time. I don't want to do that. And they don't do it. So yeah, but if we just lend our ears to the message of the personality of Godhead, then yeah, it will awaken something within us, and specifically this enthusiasm, which is very important actually. It's a very important component in devotional service. Practically, when we hear about great devotees, like we heard about Sanatana Goswami and Bhakti True Swami, so many great devotees. One thing that's always there within them is this enthusiasm. They're so enthusiastic for devotional service. Like Prabhupada, he's glorified. So enthusiastic, coming to America and starting everything up and, traveling, very enthusiastic. So we see practically, and it's actually, very nice to see, if we stay around for some years, anyone who stayed around for some years, they'll see new, that's the hope, right? We see new, which means persons who are just taken to Krishna consciousness. And we see that, they lend their ear to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, they start the process of devotional service, and they really become, they become alive. They're like sleeping in some slumber, then they engage in devotional service, they really, brighten up. And Prabhupada says that in the description of autumn in the 10th canto. He said, oh, previously our students, they're very dirty looking and very morose, but once they've taken to the process of devotional service, and he described with their shaven heads and tilak and saffron robes. Specifically, Prabhupada was saying that. He said they look like they just came from Vaikuntha, very, very enthusiastic and happy. So, yeah, we want to do this and be enthusiastic about it. And we also want to introduce people to the process of devotional service. And then they could give up all their very strange passions for all this unnecessary things. She's this woman, sleeping or anything. People are sometimes very passionate about dogs or something. I really, I love my dog. And it's all right, I guess it's kind of whatever. It's, you have some affection for your dog, but that dog is not your life. But it is in many cases for people. Or, people, sorry to say, but just on the corner here of Garnett, big thing. Oh, new, chicken place opened up. Chicken means, you don't go there and look at the chickens. It means they sell you, chickens that are, food to eat. And apparently it's some big, fancy, chicken place. They have their quarters in L.A. and everybody's just going wild here in SanDiego. And they're now
we had the chance in SanDiego. Is that what it is?
What was it?
Like you're saying it's big in L.A.
Yeah, yeah, it's in
San Diego can also do it.
yeah. It's a new chain in SanDiego, and it's very famous in L.A. So yeah, they don't have one in SanDiego, so first one. So you have people there. You drive by, you walk by, and they're lining up. Literally, and I don't think it's just because of the circumstances, COVID and mask and all that. It's not that it's social distance. I don't even think they are social distance. They're not. They're close to each other. But it's just a huge line because there's a huge wait, because people are into it. And a lot of young people, too. Very weird.
Wings and legs.
Yeah.
Breath.
So, they're passionate about this. They're into it. They're fired up. Hey, let's all go down there. Yeah, gather my girlfriend, my friends. Yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to wait in line for, 2 hours and then. So, we want to bring such people. That's what we're working with, right? We want to bring such people and all people to the process of devotional service, whether they're American, Englishman, Indian, this and that. Stay in their position and lend an ear to the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting of Hare Krishna, and then they could change. I mean, imagine those people, changing to becoming Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. What a great success that is. Of course, it's, might be a little difficult, but that's our mission. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Miracles happen all the time. So, yes, it is getting a little late. We started a little late, but anyways, we could try to. And also it says in this particular verse, last thing, is that stay in your position, hear about Krishna, give up mental speculation. Means, follow the process of devotional service outlined by the Charyas. And in this way, yeah, we'll definitely be successful. No doubt about it. It's just that question of following. Like Prabhupada, one man one time asked him in India, India must have been quite a interesting thing to see Prabhupada preach in India. But one man went up to Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Swamiji, only you could save us." And interesting enough, Prabhupada said, "That's a fact." Because, sometimes Prabhupada would say different things. He said, "That's a fact. That's true." But he said, "The question is, are you willing to follow?" So yeah, the process is there, and the spiritual master will guide us, but we have to follow. And also, it's Paneshwari's birthday, right? Isn't it? So everybody could wish her a happy birthday and blessings of Krishna and all that. So, all right, there you go. So, does anybody have any comments or questions? Yes. You're welcome.
two things I was thinking of is the clarity of Srila Prabhupada in, according to time, place, and circumstance, being able to transfer the instructions of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, to every place that he was.
Yeah.
So that was amazing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like this verse was saying, that we stay in our position. That was also the beauty of Srila Prabhupada, because he was able to take anybody in any situation they were, and what is that, as Vaiseshika Prabhu says, fan that spark that they had, and hone in on that special skill that they have, and allow them to use that in Krishna's service.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I see us doing a little bit. I think that's really, really good. I think that's how we are able to attract people, by telling them that this is not something foreign, and you don't have to change your lifestyle completely.
Yeah.
Just chant, and then that's, like you said, once they listen and they hear, that is the beginning, because the magic is in the chanting.
Yeah.
So there's a couple points I wanted to make. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. That was the, you could say, part of Srila Prabhupada's glories, or many of his, glorious qualities, is that his vision, he had the right vision, spiritual vision. And other, you could say, religious people, and specifically, you could say, some of the other Vaishnavas at the time, Srila Prabhupada's time, they didn't have that particular vision Srila Prabhupada had in order to be successful. And, there was a kind of like this mood, like, oh, well, first of all, there's a prediction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, in every town and village. How is that? Maybe it's just poetical, maybe it's just, they couldn't really grasp that, how it's true, or how it could be true. But Prabhupada said, no, this is true, and I'm going to work on that. But then coming to San Francisco, which, one devotee said that, just watch the videos. Those people were like really, extraordinary. Those hippies in San Francisco at that time. So a lot of people think, oh, these people are just like too much. These people are useless, But Prabhupada saw that I could fan the spark in them, of Krishna consciousness. They could become pujaris. They could become sannyasis. They could become brahmacharis. They could become devotees. And he saw that, and they did. He worked on them, and they did. So that's, say, Prabhupada's equal vision. One time Prabhupada was criticized in India by these Indian men. They came to Prabhupada and they were criticizing him to his face, practically. And they were saying, oh, Prabhupada, they're saying, oh, Swami, you're criticizing all of these people, calling them this, calling them that, all these, leaders and so on, because Prabhupada was quite outspoken in many regards. So then, how is this samadarshana? How is this equal vision? You should see everybody as spirit soul. Why are you being so critical? And then Prabhupada said that I'm not claiming to be on that level. I have to make distinctions. Because I'm preaching, I have to make distinctions. So I'm not claiming to be on that level. But he said that, but then, the men kept on criticizing Prabhupada. They're really upset with him, actually. And then Prabhupada, they were saying, well, but what's your contribution? What's your contribution? Because every acharya has a contribution. And specifically, they're really like trying to nail him on this, term. Trying to get him, Prabhupada, on this point of you're not seeing everyone equal. You're criticizing too much. And then Prabhupada said, oh, my equal vision is that before I went to America, before I went all over the world, Krishna consciousness was not available to all of these people. So my equal vision is that I made it available to them. To everyone. That's my equal vision. So Prabhupada had that great... And Prabhupada, as Ravindra Swarup Prabhu said one time, very intelligent devotee, but he said, Prabhupada spent time in Times Square. he knew the American psychology. He studied it. He said he studied it. And if you look at Prabhupada's books based on the commentaries and other books of acharyas, of course Prabhupada takes a lot from their books, but Prabhupada also adds a lot of his own, realizations and for what we need to hear, what modern people need to hear. And Tamal Krishna Goswami, in his book, one of his books, which was his last book that just came out some years ago, he completed like half of it before he left, but it was his thesis when he was going to college on it's called Living Theology of Krishna Bhakti. But he's studying Prabhupada, and he's mentioning how Prabhupada how he wrote his commentaries in a certain way, and specifically he added a lot of, like, you could say, warnings of like the material energy and all of this type of things. For example, the warnings of illicit sex, that's a lot in Prabhupada's commentaries, things like that, which were not so much added in previous commentaries from the Acharyas. So there's many things like that he added, knowing the age. So anyway, that's just something about. Does anyone have any last comment, question? No? All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhakti True Swami ki jai.